It's race 6 of the BMW IBSF Bobsleigh World Cup. We're in Moritz in Switzerland, high in the Engadine Valley. After a little dusting of overnight snow, it is a balmy -10. None of your -25 nonsense today. And that might make conditions a little different for the two-man bob. Ready for the first of two runs on the longest, fastest, most glamorous and only natural track on the planet. Alongside me is US slider Greg West. Greg, you were on the track yesterday in the skeleton race. It's hand-built every year, this St. Moritz track, and this year it seems a little trickier than most.
It's kind of been the theme of the season so far. In the last week we called Eaglesburg because it was notoriously difficult, and this week again, the St. Moritz track, not difficult, but it's definitely got some tricky sections. You're seeing us go through the upper third of the track, known as kink 1 to kink 2, into this big sweeping left-hander that's wall. This corner usually has 2 pressures or 2 oscillations, but this year it has 3. That's new and different. Then into the snakes, which are really wanting to hang up sleds. In the end of snake 1, we'll see some sleds flop out of there into one of the most beautiful corners in the world, sunny. You got to sit back and relax and let the G-forces just give you a nice massage for a moment. Then into the most iconic corner in the world, the horseshoe up near the woodwork. We'll get our first major speed check here. We'll see sleds upward of 105 kilometers an hour there. And now they turn on the afterburners as we go through Devil's Dyke into a corner named Nameless, ironically enough, and into the Four Rights Bridge. Into Tree, Leap, and then Gunter Sachs right here. We'll get our last speed check. I think we're going to see speeds over 145K into Martineau. Little tap on the left here, and then a nice shot on the left wall right as they cross the finish line out of Portago. That's a trip down St. Moritz.
A trip down memory lane as well. For over 125 years, they've been sliding from the town of St. Moritz down to the bottom of the valley in Celerina, and that continues to be the case. In the two-man World Cup, Francesco Friedrich has not been beaten in a two-man sled since St. Moritz last January. He's been undefeated in two-man racing in the World Cup this season. He has the perfect score so far. Nico Walter, the winner here a year ago, and so he's already had an entire calendar year unbeaten. Francesco Friedrich, he's now about to make it potentially an entire season unbeaten, including those pesky Olympic Games. So there is our Olympic champion, our world champion in two-man and four-man as well. Up against him, Oskars Kiberman is there, the Latvian, second in the World Cup rankings. He's not been off the podium, barring a slightly slack 5th place in Koenigsegg a couple of weeks ago. What about the young guys there in front of us? Dominic Dvorak, and the 2 Americans, Cody Basque and Justin Olsen, have both trained well. So let's take a look at our start list. 23 sleds, only the fastest 20 go through to the first heat. The first 3 might be potential candidates for getting the chop, because the track will be frostier for them than for the later runners. And further down the order as you get down to Dmitry Popov, Drazen Cilic, Vuk Radjenovic, again possibly 2, maybe 3 of those last 3 or 4 might not make the cut. First heat, round 6 of the men's bobsleigh World Cup for two-man. This is the final race in Europe before we head to North America for the World Cup finale races in Lake Placid and Calgary, and then the World Championships. Getting us underway, 28-year-old Korean Yoongjin Suk, his 2nd World Cup two-man race as a driver after doing his first ever last week in Innsbruck.
See what the Koreans can do here on the start at 5:24, but we see the sled weaving back and forth after kink 1 and that long straight, now going through kink 2 and that tap on the wall. This is an incredibly flat portion of the track. You don't want to be weaving because A, it adds meters, B, it takes energy out of the sled.
Touch the wall there and it's like the sled's got magnets, it's attracted to it. The track overnight low was around -12, not -25 or 27 as it has been for training. So track a little bit less frosty, but they're on it much earlier than they've been in training. So conditions, again, he drags it down the wall into horseshoe.
Get our first speed check here out of horseshoe. A couple of taps, 104.2. I think we're going to see speed significantly higher than that, as some of the women's skeleton athletes were ripping faster than that yesterday.
Yeah, definitely. It's a little frosty for the first few heats. 114.5. That's well up into the mid-70s miles an hour. And down at the bottom, 145 Ks will be kind of par for the course, I think.
137 there, and that's indicative of the frosty track, as they had a pretty good bottom. But 107.98 sets the pace for today. That's a track record. Did you see that on the screen? That's because there has been no bobsled races at this track this year. Yep. Because it's freshly built every year from scratch, there's no infrastructure. It always is a little bit different. So the first person down typically sees gold numbers.
And normally the championship or the Swiss championships set the pace for the season, but they were snowed off this year just before Christmas. So again, out of Nash and Dixon, named after the 64 gold medalists for Great Britain, who were members of the St. Moritz Bob Club, the only St. Moritz Bob Club members since 1897 who have claimed an Olympic gold medal. He had a little drag down the wall. Well, that might potentially leave him a little bit in the danger zone. 10th two-man World Cup start for Patrick Baumgartner of Italy. His first this season. The former skier made his debut 2 or 3 years ago as a two-man driver, but his last race was January 2018 in Altenburg.
I don't know that a sled has ever looked more Italian than this one coming down the hill right
Absolutely.
now. 5:32, so a little bit back on the start, but what you're seeing from the Italians is he's going straight down the straightaway. Go figure. He's not putting a couple S-curves in there, and that's going to allow him to build more speed as they get in a wall.
Well, he's now been coached by Simone Batazzo, who retired after the games, and Manny Mahata, so he's got lots of knowledge coaching his driving ability.
Yeah, both those guys tend to know what they're doing in the front of a sled. Back 0.2 of a second right now. I think that's still from the push time. He did stop the bleeding, though. We'll get a speed check here as he sends it to the roof and horseshoe.
Decent late height in horseshoe, nice landing as well. 2900s back, so how close does he get? 103.2, 104.2 was Yoongjin Suk a career.
Yeah, back on speed. I think the Italians may have went for a little bit more of an aggressive setup. It's been so cold lately, they may have gone with a sharper runner. And the sharper runner gives you more control, which is these clean lines, but more drag, which means you're down on speed.
Patrick Baumgartner looking to be about a quarter second behind at the line. Speed is decent, 136. Wow, closed right in. And we've seen that in yesterday's skeleton races between Martineau, named after the first president of St. Moritz Bob Club, and Portago, named after Alfonso de Portago, the Portuguese racing driver and playboy who was an Olympian in bobsled and a member of the club and then died in a fatal crash in Emilia. You can win or lose a race in the last few hundred meters.
Yeah, yesterday in the skeleton races, we were seeing 3 to 4/10 of a second going away in those final 2 corners. We're watching the Italians get in and get down in the sled. As John Morgan would say, cat-like movements.
Yeah, choreography on ice. Good morning, John Morgan fans. He will be back with us from Lake Placid. On there is a big Swiss support group for Timo Röner, son of Marcel Röner, Olympic silver medalist, World Championship medalist in Swiss bobsledding. This is his 3rd two-man World Cup. He's raced here in the European Cup and Junior Worlds, but actually significantly limited knowledge of St. Moritz, even for a Swiss.
5:23, fastest start time of the day, but more importantly, he is clean through kink 1 and into kink 2. The sled looks nice and quiet. I say that, he hits the wall, but green numbers for the Swiss sled as they go in a wall.
He's raced here a couple of times in previous years in Swiss championships. This is one of only 4 tracks he has ever driven a bobsled down.
Big flop out of Snake 1. That's something I think we're going to see more of throughout the day, is that the radius of that corner is a little bit different.
Whoa!
Big skid into Nash, and he's still got green numbers, but he's going to need to get it together.
Now, his teammate Mikael Vogt did that in the first run of the first day of training, rolled out of Nash and Dixon and skidded on his head all the way down the rest of the track. Röner had to save the sled there.
They did a good job, though. He's pulling off some big Swiss speed. 105.7, 116.1 as he gets into the bottom of the track. So even with those rough lines, those Swiss sleds are running.
Yeah, he's highly ambitious, this young man. 116 down the straightaway, and at the bottom, 140.5 new track record.
Just think if the run was clean.
Yeah.
Great looking run from the Swiss. When you're in the top 3, that means you're coming from the back of the draw, and things probably haven't gone very well that season. But a nice, solid looking run, big speed from the Swiss sled. I think that season in the top 20 pretty easily.
Yeah, 3rd World Cup for him. He was 17th in Koenigsegg, missed the cuts, 20 seconds in Innsbruck.
See, exit Snake 1, they come out, the articulation where the sled twist is completely maxed out. And then coming out of Sunny here, he just takes a hard right and hits the wall.
Wow.
Down through the bottom of the track, exit Martineau. That's where we see a lot of the sleds coming out and hitting left. And it's a fine line between driving too much and being clean, or not driving enough and hitting the wall.
So 3 sleds down out of our field of 23. 20 to come, starting with Maciej Luty, the 29-year-old from Poland, former brake driver. Brakeman starting his 21st World Cup as a driver. Krzysztof Tolkowski behind him, 30-year-old brakeman. And 2 weekends ago in Koenigsegg, 7th place. His best ever 2-man result, 5:15, a new start record, so they are pushing strong.
Yeah, pretty much puts a 10th in front of everybody as they come through the upper section of the track, but more importantly, the sled is straight. He's not working the D-rings. He actually extends the lead. He's up almost 0.2 of a second as he goes into the snakes.
12th place here last year in a penultimate race weekend before the Olympics when the field was absolutely packed with everybody. And he'll be looking to stay in the top 10.
A little bit early into Dixon, pulls it up early into Horseshoe, but extends his lead a half second up, 105.7, ties for the fastest speed of the day with his predecessor, the Swiss.
Well, this is telling us exactly where Timo Rohner might have been had he not had those big mistakes early on, because the 6/10 in hand is because Luty was tidy.
Yep. It's a good-looking run here from Luty. 130.
This is going to be a second quicker, isn't it?
140 matches the same speed as the Swiss at the bottom, but
Yeah,
does
there
clear
you
him.
go.
8/10s, casual.
106.70, a new track record, the 3rd in 4 sleds. And that was a clean run from Maciej Luty. And he will definitely be looking to try and put the sled in the top 10 here. 11th and 12th the last 2 seasons.
Now, like any racing driver will tell you, sometimes the ones that look slow are the ones that are fast. What we saw is a fairly drama-free run, except for that one little bump on the entrance of Dixon. We see him coming through the bottom of the track here, the 4 rights. I believe that's Leap, just letting the sled climb, pulling it off gently, and letting it build speed. Absolutely
right. Polish lead with 19 sleds to go. Yunjong won a career with Jinsu Kim, his 23-year-old brakeman. Best result so far this season, 9th place for 1 in a 2-man. This is his 40th start in 2-man. Last couple of years, 5th and 8th. But he didn't race here last season because he was back home training up for the games.
Seemed to have worked out for him a little bit. 5:16, another quick start from the Koreans. And again, he puts it right down the pipe from kink 1 to kink 2 and looks like it down the wall. You see him staring down the straight, no major dramas. This is looking good so far.
But still a fraction behind from that slightly slower start on the poles. He's the Olympic 4-man silver medalist, so tomorrow really is more his forte. 0.04 of a second behind.
I think that's basically start differentials. We see that 100 turns into 300s. We'll see how he looks here through Horseshoe and check the speed. Way up high. Pulls it out nicely, no hit on the end, and he's pulling it back. 100 back, we got a race. 107.1, huge speed from the Koreans, and he's into the green.
Yeah, well, he's got twice the World Cup experience of Maciej Luty of Poland, and that is now starting to show a little. The Hyundai sled is flying. Little tap out of Sachs down the straight. And we're looking for 140 and higher. Across the line, doesn't make it. 106.72, 200s behind the poles. So didn't quite have the speed down at the line, and the poles were flying.
I don't know where that went away. When you're up almost 2K on speed halfway down the track, you just assume they're going to continue to extend.
Yeah.
But we saw that all day in the skeleton race yesterday, both the men's and the women. There are 4/10ths hiding in the final 2 corners of this track. We see him take it up near the woodwork in Horseshoe, pulls it out. That is the courage line. If you want to go fast, you got to go high, and then you got to dodge that left wall on the exit. We see him exit snake 1 there. Little flop out, but not so bad. And into the 4 rights at the bottom. It was a good-looking run. I don't know where it went away.
Well, it's a good-looking run, and he's right behind Maciej Luty. First 5 of our sleds down. Poland, Korea, Switzerland, the top 3. Next up, one of the big stories of this season, Frenchman Roman Heinrich, the 28th former shot putter, is now a European Championship bronze medalist. 3 World Cups in the 2-man this season, 5th, 4th and 8th.
So it's going well.
Driving up a storm, and look at that, 5:14. Dorian Otaville on the back, the sprinter from Guadeloupe.
Yeah, the Friends have shown up with a push this year.
Yeah.
5:14, fastest start, but once again, a nice and smooth run. Kink 1, Kink 2 down the wall. He's back 200ths of a second, which means we got a race on our hands.
Yes, we do. This is only Heinrich's 10th World Cup race as a driver. He did 18 before as a brakeman. 1100ths of a second back. Oh, that's a big bump as he gets between Nash and Dixon down to Horseshoe. Hold the late height. Nice.
Shoots it out, 1300s back, 106.4, a little bit down on speed on the Koreans, but if he has a nice smooth bottom, once again, there are 410s hiding somewhere down here, and your job is to go find them.
116.7, that's decent speed, about 1 kilometre an hour down though. The French might find their sled a little outpaced here, avoids the wall, he's got good speed into Martineau and Portago, tiny brush in between, and out at the line, 2/10 back, 106.91.
Another solid-looking run there.
Yeah.
There's only one major issue that was going into Dixon. We actually saw the back of the sled get lifted completely off the ground. That's a lot of energy going up when you consider how heavy these sleds are with a couple of sliders in them.
And they're two big boys, these guys as well. Roman Heinrich, a big brakeman, so is Dorian Otteville.
See, entrance of Dixon, it picks the entire back of the sled up. You see the brakeman pop up, and then up near the woodwork, he went for it, pulled it out, had pretty good speed, but not quite enough to move in the lead. Sitting third so far.
Germany's Johannes Lochner started in ski racing, came to bobsled in 2011. This is now his 24th two-man World Cup. His very first was also here in St. Moritz. He's got 29-year-old Christian Rust behind her, a 10.45 100-meter guy. Now this is the start for a long sprinter. Lochner will be in earlier by 6-8 steps. That's why he's got Christian on the back. 5:07. That is a big, big start here.
5:07, and also look at the speed, 56.2. That is the fastest speed we've seen. Now, these kink corners, or the kink straightaways we see right here, are basically flat. So any speed you carry through there is going to extend. A little bit rough through the exit of Snake 1. We've seen that a couple times, though. He's holding a 1300ths lead coming through Sunny. Let's see if he's clean through Nash and Dixon. And he also hits the on-take of Dixon.
Nash and Dixon are really tough. We'll see a lot of that in the format. Big height in the Horseshoe and lands it beautifully. 106.6. He's half a kilometre down on Yunton 1. Now, does he extend his advantage here?
Seen the brakeman rattle around there in the back. John Morgan would not be happy seeing that. 117.4, though. The German sleds do the same thing in skeleton and bobsled. They go fast at the bottom. 148. Is he going to get 141? Almost.
Should be 141 at the line. Johannes Lochner will lead with a new track record. 140.9, 106.55. So a new track record for Hansi Lochner.
A solid-looking drive there, and that's, you don't expect anything less from somebody like him. You expect him to come to play every week, and he rarely disappoints. So
3 World Cup races this year, crashed out in Altenburg, his favourite track. That's why he's got that pad on his right shoulder to protect the burns. He's had a bronze and a silver the last 2 trips out.
He may have clipped the woodwork there.
Let's take a look. Do we see ice?
Yep, little brush.
No ice. Oh, yeah, a little bit of ice crystals, maybe.
Just a little nudge.
That's as good as you want to get. There's Hansi Lochner, our current leader by 1500s over Maciej Luty of Poland. 8th sled in a field of 23 is 30-year-old Russian Maxim Anjanov. Last year, really disappointing here. 24th place. He was 24th the year before, 6th 3 years ago. So where that pace went to, Lord only knows. This year, though, he's back on form.
See what the Russians can do here. A little bit of a late load by the brakeman. We see him come out and just nick that left wall. Down on speed, 54.8 kilometers an hour compared to Lochner's 56.2. That is going to really extend as they go to wall. Back a half second already.
Only the 7th fastest start, 7th highest velocity. And currently in 8th place on the splits. This is the slowest run we've seen so far.
7/10 back as they're coming in at Nash and Dixon. He's going to need an amazing bottom to have a chance to move up into the top 3.
I'll tell you what, he's had 4 top 10 results and 17th in Innsbruck. He had better not miss the cut here. That'll put a real kink in his progress this season.
107.3 though, really good speed from the Russian. You're starting to see the track is getting polished up. About 7-8 sleds in, it starts to find some speed, and we're seeing it now. 117.6, good speed at the bottom.
Yeah, faster even than Yunjong-won and Korea. Little rub on the wall, double tap heading down into Martineau. 141 and change. Sun's coming out on the track at the bottom as well. It all helps take the frost off. A 107.55. Okay, so 5th at the line, a 2nd behind Hansi Lochner, 6th at the line.
Just think,
2 sleds behind him. He should make the 2nd heat, shouldn't he?
just think, 6/10 of that second were before wall.
Yeah.
It was on the flat part of the track. That is push time. You can't go slow up top here or you get left. We see him exit Snake, a little bit rough through there. Going up in Horseshoe, not quite the woodwork line that we saw from Lochner, but he is definitely up a bit.
2200s behind at the start, a 10th at the start, 3/10 at the bottom, 6600s back. So it wasn't quite as neat a drive. Well, next up, lots of Latvian fans celebrating the presence of this man. Oskars Kībermanis, the 25-year-old, was in 6th position last year. He's not been as low as 6th all season long. Silver, silver, bronze, 5th, bronze is his year. His 45th World Cup as a 2-man driver. This is a long career already for Kībermanis. And again, Martis Miknis hoofing the sled out of the grooves at the back.
See what they can do here on the start.
5:07.
5:07. Great start time from them. We'll check the velocity, 56.2. So they match Lochner in velocity. So now we should see a pretty even split as they go in the wall, and they're dead even right now.
2 things about the Latvian starts. They're always fast, and they always carry great momentum because they load like feathers.
So going through Sunny here, it's pulling away the Latvian sled up 0.05 of a second over the German, and he's smoothing a Dixon.
Best he's ever finished here is 5th place 2 years ago. Not quite as high a line, but a smooth exit carries the speed.
107.8, fastest speed of the day. That's indicative of a good line and a polished up track. We're starting to see it now and expect to see them pull away. 1300s, 118.2, another. This is the fastest sled of the day, period.
Yes, it is, and he should be our leader at the line unless he commits a cardinal error here. He'll get away with that. Martineau into Portago is clean enough. Little skid, but he'll lead at the line. New track record, 106.46. And again, because this is a brand new sheet of ice every year, in the first heat, the track records always tumble. Doesn't happen anywhere else. Everywhere else, the previous year still counts because this is hand-built every season. Well, bulldozers and hand. There's a lot of snow to shift.
I like that he holds his hand up like, oh, that was okay. We see him here on the start ramp. Watch how they load. There's no energy going side to side. Everything's straight ahead, super smooth. And then he comes through kink 1 and, well, that little skid, but for the most part, plants it. Coming out of Martineau, you see the sun starting to get on the track, and that's just going to speed it up a little bit at the bottom. Great looking run. Nice job.
Germany's Nico Walter next up, 10th of our 23 starters, his 36th World Cup race. Now, he's been suffering from a hamstring tear. This is the first time he's pushed a sled in about 3 weeks.
You can tell, too, he's nice and gingered on the takeoff.
He said, I'm just going to run alongside it so that the brakeman, Marco Hubenbecker, doesn't have to push me as well.
5:33 start time. They're down 55.1, so the slowest speed we've seen, but you kind of expect that when your driver has 1 leg.
2 two-man wins in his career of 7 podium finishes, the last of which was here last year. The last man to beat Francesco Friedrich in a 2-man, but then he was healthy.
So they can do here through the middle. German sleds. Oh, big hit before Dixon. That is not going to help. Another hit going into Horseshoe.
Poor old Hubi's hips. Hubi is a lot of athlete to be tucked down in there. 106.6, not great speed. 1.2 kilometers down on Kībermanis.
I think Nico's looking forward to having a 2-week break.
Well, he's already up to top 6 off the 10th fastest start. There's no question that this kid can drive a 2-man down this track as well as anybody else.
Big speed, 141.
Going to be top 5 at the line, but he's going to be a long way away from the medals. 6 at the line, 107.15, and again with essentially one pushing and one accompanying the front handle. Hubie doing all the donkey work there, and I don't think Nico would pretend any other. He and Benny Meyer both with hamstring tears. They're trying to recuperate. Benny's is so bad, he can barely walk on it. Nico's not too bad, but...
See, exit snake one there, a little bit of a flop. Then going into Dixon, watch the sled just take the left wall out.
Blam.
Then up near the woodwork, those Germans like flirting with the wood up there.
Hey, gotta have height, gotta hold it late.
It's all about courage and horseshoe.
Gotta know when to hold them. There you go. There's Nico Walter. He lies in 6th position. 10 of our 23 sleds down here in St. Moritz. 10 down, 13 to go. Heat 1 of the two-man bobsleigh in St. Moritz, Switzerland. Next up is Austria's Markus Treichel. His 18th World Cup start in a two-man.
Little trouble loading for Treichel there, 5.20. And we'll check the speed, 55.5. So they're down about almost a kilometer an hour on the fastest pushers.
Last year, he was 19th in the jam-packed field, his only time that he's made the cut. He also finished 8th in the Junior Worlds here in 2018. 6th, rather, in the two-man.
All right, so he was a quarter second back, call it 3/10 now, but now's the vertical descent of the track, so the bleeding should stop. If he has a good bottom here, he's got a chance to move back up into the top 5.
Well, we saw earlier this season that the Austrian sleds really like to generate high numbers. That was always Wolfgang Stampfer's trademark. He could come here and off the 20th push, he'd get the highest speed.
106.9, pretty good speed. Not the best we've seen, 117.6. Once again, pretty good speed. They're a half second back on the lead right now.
Yeah, given that they gave away 1300s at the start, this is a nice looking run. Still in the top half dozen, ahead of Nico Walter and Timo Röner.
Little skid on the exit of Martineau, not going to matter much. 6th at the line.
There you go, can't argue with that.
107.06, 6/10 back on the lead, and that's basically push differential right there.
1300s back times 3 is 3900, so plus add in twice as much for the track. That's all sort of weird maths, but ahead of Nico Walter.
Martin, I hit my head way too much to do that quickly.
I know.
I'm just saying.
We need John Morgan, the maths rain man.
So let's watch Treichel load into the sled here. And if you remember watching the Latvians earlier, they just got in and got down. You see him kind of shimmy his way in. It's not bad, it's just not as good as the best. I mean, that's one way you can conserve energy is get down and get set.
The way Keeper Manis drops in is astonishing. It's like there's a trapdoor and he just goes straight down, touches nothing. And the way this man does as well is astonishing. Francesco Friedrich, our World Cup points leader and our world and Olympic champion in two-man and 4. Friedrich, only silver medalist here last year. And he's got rookie Alex Schuler behind him, who made his debut in Sigulda with a win. Thank you.
Casual.
Oh, 5.01, boom, woo! But hit the wall out of Ken Kwan.
56.3 though, so he does still have the highest speed, but it did hurt them. They're still going to pull away though. I think they're going to be up by 300 or 400. 13.
Wow.
Wow. Something went right.
Well, listen, at the moment it's Oscar's Keeper Manis and Hansi Lochner who are 1st and 2nd, and this is Friedrich stamping his mark on the field. He has not been beaten in 12 months. He has not lost this season in a two-man. And once we get to the bottom, we'll see whether he can then complete an entire season of races.
107.8, pretty good speed through Horseshoe. Just a couple of little taps here and there, but he's doing a great job of letting the sled run. 118.8, biggest speed of the day, holding steady at 1400s though. We've seen that trap door at the bottom of the track. Where's the 3/10s? Where's the 4/10s? Is he gonna get it? I think so. Fastest speed of the day, 142.
Oh, Wavy and Martineau, big double pressures, and out of Portago at new track record at the line. He really is in astonishing form this season. Unbeaten in 5 straight races. He's had 3 four-man wins as well, thanks very much.
Brakeman a little overzealous on the brakes there.
Alex Schuler, the discus thrower.
We'll see him coming down through kink 1 right here. Comes out and just says, hi, tag the left wall, but they were going so fast on the start, they still had the fastest velocity. We see a little flop there going into the bottom, and then Martineau. Watch the sled wave a little bit, but he came out with a 142 speed.
Let it
so
fly.
142.7.
Yeah. His debut was here in St. Moritz 2012. He was disqualified then. Let's hope that doesn't come back and bite him today. Dominik Dvorak, the Czech Republic, didn't race here last year. 2 years ago in 18th place. Dominik Sushi behind him, the 31-year-old brakeman, started in the Czech team in 2007 and is still hoofing it off in the two-man. Dvorak, by the way, a 10.9 100-metre sprinter. So he's no slouch on the front handles either. And driving up a storm this year, Dvorak. A 4th, a 6th, and a 5th are his 3 best results this year.
One of the biggest things as a driver is you got to know when to fold and push handle.
The push handle in.
You see it actually hit the top of the roof, or top of the wall there.
Yeah.
He must have missed the handle with his hand.
Yeah, there's a tiny button as you drop in, but you can't afford to go for a second hit because you've got to steer it around kink 1.
It's a good way to rip it off, too.
Yeah, nice looking run so far. Smooth out of Nash and Dixon.
Half second back on the leaders, but back with the mere mortals. He's sitting around 5th or 6th right now. Check his speed on the exit of Horseshoe. Runs that nice high German line. 6/10 back. Did not get a speed check there. I'm assuming it's quick.
Yeah, 2 World Cup races for him, 26th and 18th 3 years ago and 2 years ago. This will be considerably better. 4th fastest start is a huge part of the Czech drivers' armory, and now in 8th place.
Holding steady at 6/10 back. We don't have speeds right now, but we did downtime 7th. 77/100 back.
Ahead of Markus Treichel of Austria and Nico Walter of Germany. So the transponder on his sled is clearly not working. I'm sure the guys from Swiss Timing will have a look at that.
He's just curious. He's like, was it good?
Yeah.
He couldn't see the speeds either, apparently.
Yeah, his ometer wasn't working.
We see him coming through kink 1 here, and he misses the button.
Yeah, and Suchi's sort of loading late behind him as well, that they run it right the way down into the first kink. That's American style-y.
Yeah, that's a good way to smash your hand on the wall, and then here, just can't get the bar down.
Yeah, tinker along the wall. At least it didn't bend it out of the way, and it went in. So Dominik Dvorak watching that replay. Let's see now what Great Britain's Brad Hall can produce, 28-year-old in his 20th two-man World Cup start. 22-year-old brakeman Nick Gleeson from 3 para behind him. Last week, 8th place in Innsbruck, Brad Hall's best ever two-man World Cup result, and it was in this sled rented from Benny Meyer.
Well, I mean, if there's one sitting around.
Yeah. He says, however, because it's suited for Benny, he can't move the seat any further back, so he's sitting sort of on the seat back, which is why he's so high up.
Yeah, I was just about to say, his head is really high. Now, this is Francesco Friedrich's 2017 sled, am I correct on that?
Yep.
All right, well, 2/10 back. Brad couldn't have rented a better sled. This thing has had great speed all year.
Normally, you sit with straight legs pressed against footrest, bracing yourself against a little seat back in the sled. He's having to bend his knees, and he's sitting with his backside on the articulation pin. So he's sort of scrunched down inside.
3/10 back, 106.1, so not quite the speed we would expect right now.
Top 4 run at the moment, though. And the last 2 weekends in borrowed sleds, Brad has been in single digits with a sled from Billy Meyerhans in Koenigsegg, and this one last week, and this is still a top 6 run, losing a little bit down at the bottom. 6th at the line, 106.84. Now that is a real confidence-inspiring run. Bearing in mind, last week he drove it 3 trips in practice. He did 3 in the 4-man and 2 in the race, so that's 5 trips before he came here in that sled. You know, it's like the 2nd or 3rd day in your rental car. You still can't remember where the heated controls are and where the radio button is.
Here's the thing. This is the cool thing about this sport. The community that is part of this sport, as we're watching them coming out of Sunny right now, passing Monty's Bolt, which is going to make my point. This community is so small. If somebody has something and they're not using it, they're willing to help everybody out. It's like a big family. This is a great example of it. And on this track with that corner named like that, it's just another great example of what makes this sport special.
Exactly right.
I'm done being corny now.
Cody Basque of the USA, about halfway down our field in St. Moritz. First heat of the 2-man race of the world's greatest sliding track, with Hakeem Abdul-Sabur behind him.
Hakeem the Machine. We'll see what these boys can do. They're both a little bit under the weather.
Cody's 31st World Cup start in a two-man sled, a 5:15 start, but they just about get away without squirreling out a kink 1 too badly. Come on, sled, play the game.
Hurts him a little bit on speed, though, 55.5. They're back 3/10 as they go through wall. But one thing Cody can do is drive.
Yeah, he's had some good drives down this track.
Back a half second right now. If he's cleaning Nash and Dixon, we'll see what he can do. He's in 9th right now. One of the better lines we've seen into Dixon. Right down the pipe, going into horseshoe. Takes it up near the woodwork, pulls it out. 6/10 back. We'll check the speed, 106.6. So kind of middle of the pack speed.
Right, he needs the BMW sled to hit some big numbers down at the bottom. This is nice and smooth.
117.5. You found that X drive button.
All right, here we go. And out of the Sachs curve, needs a straight run, pretty close. Speed needs to be into the 141s.
Little height on the end.
Ninth at the line, ahead of Marcus Treichler and Nico Walter.
Really letting the sled fly at the bottom of the track. He did a nice job from horseshoe to the bottom to find 141 speed with kind of middle of the pack speed out of horseshoe. So something was going well. We see that wavy line in Martineau might actually be the secret. We saw that from Friedrich as well. Anybody that just lets it cruise through there finds big speed on the exit. In Cody's case, he found big height. I'm sure the guys in the booth will find that. Coming out of Gunter Sachs, he taps the wall, goes in pretty late into Martineau. We see him hold it up there. He was on 2 runners for just a moment. But maybe 2 runners is less friction than 4.
Less friction, yeah, although all the weight goes through half the contact patch, so who knows. Yeah, Cody coughing and spluttering like half the field here. Francesco Friedrich leads from Ostas Kiebermanis and Johannes Lochner. 16 sled at 23. Monaco's Rudy Rinaldi didn't race here last year. He's only done 2 World Cups this season. 19th in Koenigsegg, 13th last week in Innsbruck.
See what the Monaco boys can do here on the start ramp. 5:11, 4th fastest start.
Well, his 2 best World Cup drives have been 13th place finishes in Innsbruck. So clearly, the start has always been a factor for the Monaco sled. In fact, Patrice Savella Monaco is here as well, helping to coach the French. He's returning to bobsledding.
Curious if Prince Albert made an appearance.
Albert is here somewhere.
3/10 back, so a pretty solid spot for the Monaco boys. If he's cleaning the Dixon, which he is, he's going to have a chance to build some speed.
4th fastest start, 5th place as he gets to horseshoe. This is a flying run from Rudy Rinaldi. The track is now starting to really speed up. 107.2, 2nd or 3rd fastest.
Great speed at the bottom. We'll see if we can do 118, so very good speed again. 4/10 back, sitting in 4th place at the moment. Would be a big heat for them if he can hold it together through Martineau.
Really nice run, really smooth from Rudy Rinaldi. Little waves, nice exit. Martineau into Portago, top 3. Oh, 6 at the line, that big wall-crushing hit. There's Patrice Savella on the right, Bruno Michon on the left. They raced against each other, Bruno for France, Patrice for Monaco.
All right, something to watch for the rest of the race. We're going to pay attention in Martineau if the guys in the truck are listening. The sleds that are wavy through there are leaving the sleds that are smooth and straight. And that's exactly what we saw here.
Nice Steve Holcomb Superman logo on the back of his helmet and really channeling the late Steve Holcomb. That was a really nice drive. Look at the height in horseshoe. Hold it, watch the runner tips and ease it off. Look, barely did anything, but that's a 1/10 of a second minimum. You're doing 140 kilometers an hour, you hit the wall head on. That's an insurance claim right there. All right, track is smoking for Michael Vogt of Switzerland with Sandro Michel behind him making his 2nd ever 2-man start. Vogt crashed in the very first run of training on Wednesday. Luckily, he's okay, so is his brakeman, but it was a horrendous roll all the way down the track.
5:12 start, and I think they mistimed it. It looked like they didn't hit the sled together, so there's more in the tank there. Good speed, though, 56.1, one of the better speeds we've seen through the top of the track. So they definitely have got something going on the start ramp.
Vogt started driving last year, did the European Cup, the beginners level, and now he's World Cup. And he is in 4th place on the splits. The track is treating him beautifully. great height in horseshoe. This guy has got hands. He knows how to feel the sled.
310s, or he's in third right now on the splits. Wow. Good speed at the right there, 107.6, holding steady, a quarter second back. Pretty good speed, 117.9. The Swiss sleds are running all day. They've been doing it.
This could be a top 3 run for Michel Vogt. This is really flying. Christian Reich right beside us in the Swiss commentary booth. They're going mental. A big mistake there, but at the line, 4th. That is a huge run. You know, he rolled in Nash and Dixon. He then slid a mile, him and his brakeman, on their heads, including dropping out of horseshoe.
For those who are listening at home,
down.
That's a literal mile. That is not a figurative mile.
No, a literal mile. It was a horrible accident, and everybody stopped. It was the very first sled down in bobsled training. Everybody stopped and hoped that they were okay, and they were. Good height, and again, watch the runner tips. Nice, gradual steer out, release the pressure, because he knows the line is good. Trust it.
He trusted it there on the exit of Martineau, hangs it up the Cody Basque line.
That probably cost him a top 3. That was a 10th. That hit on the wall there as well. Okay, 18th of 23 sleds. Game on now. The remaining 5 sleds. No, you can put a sled in the top 3 because the track is fast. So what about Ivo de Bruin? 37th World Cup in 2-man. Dennis Fenke beside him. 7th in Altenburg 2 races ago was his World Cup high of his career. Let's see if he can get into the top 6 here. 5:20 start.
5:20, we'll check the speed. 15th fastest speed, 54.8. Ivo's known for being the wizard on the D-rings, though, not necessarily on the start ramp. So he's 4/10ths back right now, and now we have the vertical descent of the track starts, so that bleeding should stop. A little bit rough, snake 1 to snake 2. Back a half second as they come out of Sunny. But nice and smooth, slips it through.
Not too bad. Let's take a look at horseshoe. There's the mini bus in the way. Good height though. 6/10ths back, 12th at the start. He's in 13th at the moment. The speed is about 2.5 Ks away. It's going to be maybe a top 10 run if he's smooth from here. 1:16.1.
Middle of the pack speed from Ivo. A top 10 here would be a really good finish for him. And coming into the bottom, let's check the speed.
Martineau to Portago will be the key. Avoids the wall, didn't wave in Martineau, but at the line, 10th, 9th. There you go, that's the confidence builder. The coaches will have seen that the track has suddenly got to that point where the sun gets on it for 10 or 20 minutes, and then as the runners hit the ice, they start to melt the ice a whole lot quicker, and it lubricates your run.
Yeah, we call it the sun spritz. When the sun comes out and you just get that small layer of melt on top, it makes it nice and quick.
Yeah. You no longer stick to the handle of your refrigerator. Decent load from the boys. And out of kink 1, tiny little wriggle, but avoided the magnetic taps down the wall.
Yeah, nice save there from Ivo. It looked like he was going right in the wall. You see him just quickly flip the runner chips left and right, get the track straight.
Come on, Ivo, look happy with a 9th place run when you're coming out 18th. What about Justin Olsen? Track storming. Can he and Josh Williamson, the 22-year-old lacrosse player from Orlando, first lacrosse player in men's bobsleigh I can think of. Let's see what they can do. 20th World Cup start as a driver for Olsen.
Josh is quite the horse, had a majorly successful off-season program.
They build him big in lacrosse, clearly.
Oh, yeah.
5:18 start.
12th fastest start, but what you see there is the 4th fastest velocity, 56.1. I'll take start velocity over start time any day of the week, and that means they're in the race. They're 3,700s back at wall, so sitting in 4th place as they come into the vertical descent on the track.
All right, well, let's see how the speeds work out here for Justin Olsen. 4,900s back. The gap is growing. Kiba Manis, 107.8 out of horseshoe, gets a hit from Nash to Dixon. Ignore it. Focus on height in horseshoe, and a nice smooth exit.
See the track really polished up, 106.4, a little bit down on speed.
Kind of where Cody Basque was, his teammate. Basque ended up 12th, Olsen currently 14th.
117.7 though, that's pretty good. So see what he can do here in the 4 rights.
Needs a smooth exit here. 1 tap, that's more than enough. 141, decent speed. Is this going to put him up into the top dozen? 14th of the line, 107.15. He was kind of nailed to 14th all the way down. tied with Nico Walter. Now, normally, you'd be in the medals and pretty happy with that. Walter cantering off at the top with his hamstring injury. So Justin Olsen tied for 14th, Cody Basque 12th, with 19 of our 23 sleds down.
You know, there's something to take from this, though. Justin's still a little bit green as a pilot. We see hitting a little bit of skid like a lot of other sleds. But what he did at the bottom was generate the 4th fastest speed, and that's something he can take into the second heat with a little bit of momentum. The sled will run. He has the ability. He just needs to put 2 together here.
Missed the cut his first 2 drives here. Last year, 14th. And this year, he is tied in 14th spot after 1 heat. 20th sled is 25-year-old Russian Ivan Linyuchev. Second World Cup start. Made his debut in Altenburg. Nikolai Nedzilov alongside him, the brakeman. Won a 2-man race for him since January 2017.
See what the other Russian sled can do here on the start. They really ran it into kink 1, 5:28. We'll check the speed, 54.9. So the 16th fastest speed as they go through this flat portion of the track.
Yeah, 17th at the start, 16th velocity. They ran it all the way down to kink 1, but
we'll see what they can do here through Snakes. A little bit rough. We've seen that from a few different sleds today. Back 0.7 of a second already as they're going through Sunny.
Well, right now, everybody will be in the race because he's the 20th sled and the fast 20 go through. However, if he is in front of his teammate Maxim Andrinov, Andrinov might not make the second heat because he's currently 17th.
106.4, a couple of little taps on the wall. It's not going to help his cause. 8900's back, 116.5. He goes to the bottom. Can he pick off his teammate? He's 16th right now.
The Russian sled's been flying all year, except here in St. Moritz, if they hit an aerodynamic wall. Linyuchev, 16th, and at the line, he is in 16th, ahead of teammate Andrinov. Andrinov is 3 from the bottom. If the next 3 sleds all go 16th or better, Linyuchev has just bumped his teammate. I don't think it'll happen, but then what I think doesn't really matter.
Yeah, a little too close to for comfort.
Yeah. So 16, Linyuchev is in the second heat for sure.
Little flop out of S1. We've seen that all day, and we talked about that pre-race. The Snakes are a little bit difficult this year, running that lower line through Horseshoe and clips, going into Telephone. Right there, you see it actually pick up the left rear runner.
Yeah, mistimed that really quite badly. Still 16th place at the moment. Now then, here's another option for the Russians. Francesco Friedrich, the leader. Patrick Baumgartner, Suk of Korea, and Andrinov of Russia, the final 3 sleds. Baumgartner on the bubble as Dmitry Popov gets ready for his 3rd ever World Cup start. Happy birthday to Roman Koshelev, who turns 28 today. It's his 4th 2-man race and his World Cup debut as a 2-man brakeman. And 5:15, no wonder they brought him in here. Velocity was good as well. You need a long-running brakeman who continues to accelerate in St. Moritz.
Yeah, the Russian 3 sled has the fastest start of the 3 of them. That's going to be an interesting conversation between heats.
Koshelev is going to love that on his birthday. Fastest push of the team.
4/10 back. They're in 9th right now. They got a top 10 performance so far. He's smooth through Dixon, unlike his 2 teammates. You see what he can do here in Horseshoe. We'll check the speed up near the woodwork. Smooth through Telephone. He's holding it. 4600's back.
He's been good in training. He's raced a couple of Europa Cup races here in last year's Junior Worlds in St. Moritz.
Good looking lines here from the Russian. Really hard to pick this apart. He's holding steady, 4900's back. We don't have the speeds, but if you're holding steady with the leader, that means you're cruising.
This is Popov easily making the second heat for the first time in his World Cup career. He missed the cut in Koenigsee and Eagles, and he's 9th at the line. That is a big run from Dmitry Popov. Really big run. He's in. Patrick Baumgartner of Italy is out. And our first starter, Yunjin Suk, is on the bubble. So Baumgartner started off 2nd. Dmitry Popov is in 9th fastest at the line between Brad Hall and Ivo de Bruin.
Up near the woodwork, not quite taking the Friedrich line where you check it out and make sure there's a solid structural integrity, but pulls off pretty decent looking lines and speed at the bottom. We see him coming out of Martineau, takes that little bit of a tap, but most sleds have taken that, so.
There's more room in Horseshoe today because Elizabeth Varche hit it so hard yesterday, she moved the woodwork up about a foot.
Hey, Liz.
Hey, Liz. Next up, Drazen Cilic, the 33-year-old Croatian in what is only his 6th World Cup start as a two-man. And brakeman Alexander Krasniqi, his 3rd World Cup two-man start. He raced as a Serb in 4-man prior to this season.
Can't help but root for these guys. You want to see a big result here. 5:42, slowest start of the day. You know, this program, definitely not one of the majorly funded programs. They're doing the best they can with what they have, though, and you can't ask for any more than that.
And Silic's only ever two-man race here was in the World Championships in 2013. He hasn't raced here in anything since 2014 when he did a Europa Cup race in the 4-man.
Little tap on the wall there at Monty's Bolt. If you listen to this sled, because it's a natural track, it's usually a quiet ride. You can tell it's a little bit older sled because you can hear the rattling as they go down. Back 1.3 seconds. I don't think this is going to see him in the field. Good looking lines from the Croatian guys. 105.1 through Horseshoe.
22nd at the moment. This could be close between him, Patrick Baumgartner, and Yunjin Suk. Suk was 1.74 back at the line. If Drazen Cilic gets a good bottom at corners, and he does, let's see what he's got. How close will he be? Doesn't quite get in.
Good looking lines from the Croatian guys. I think they just left it on the start ramp. I mean, when you push 4/10 slower than the top guys, it's going to be really difficult to drive it back. I'm an expert in this. I know.
Well, they are definitely enjoying their World Cup campaign this season. Drazen Cilic, shades on for his brakeman Alexander. But if you don't have a visor, basically, it's like -10 out and you're doing 75 miles an hour, it burns your eyeballs off.
Yeah, I don't think that was on purpose, but they'll take it. Looking cool at the bottom, if nothing else. See them, they pretty good lines on down the track. A little tap there out of Devil's Dyke, but I think that is your start time and technology, but they definitely have a sense of humor.
Well, final starter in the first of our two heats here in St. Moritz, the two-man bobsled, is Serbia's Vuk Radjenovic with Miroslav Kovacic. He's 42 years old, the brakeman, 35 years old, the driver. Last race here for Vuk, Europa Cup in January 2017. Last World Cup here, January 2015.
5:49 start, and that little skid out of Kink 1, probably not going to help their cause.
Vuk's first World Cup race in a two-man was in November 2004, when our current race leader, Francesco Friedrich, was 14.
I'm sure he's going to appreciate you calling him out like that.
Yeah, Vuk 33rd two-man World Cup.
Little flop there on the exit of Sunny. Once again, hitting before Nash. We'll see what the speed check here is. Going through Horseshoe, takes that intermediate line. We don't have the speed for him, but a little bit, he's letting it fly. You can see the sled's got little pressures attached at the end of each corner, and a little skid there on the exit.
23rd spot at the start, 23rd spot on the splits at the moment for Vuk Radjenovic.
Think Suk's gonna stay in the heat.
Yeah, I think he is. And Vuk making his first World Cup race in about 4 seasons, and across the line, 109.01.
I thought he was retired. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Well, every season we think he's retired and then he pops up again. You know, it's a very small program. Essentially, him and his dad try and find the funding and keep the sled running and pay the athletes. So Vuk and Boris
are covered in snow at the moment.
Yeah.
See him here on the start ramp, and you know this really dug him a hole. It'd be difficult for anybody to come out of that and then to hit the right wall on the exit. It's not the best way to generate speed. Exit is Sunny here. He flops out. You actually see him on 2 runners for just a moment. And I'm sure Vuk wishes he had that one back.
That is brakeman Miroslav, not just the oldest, but twice the age of the youngest. And the youngest is on the back of Francesco Friedrich's sled, 21-year-old Alexander Schuler. Friedrich leads after the first of our 2 heats here in St. Moritz, undefeated since the St. Moritz race last January in a 2-man. Francesco Friedrich is looking to continue his winning streak. He absolutely flew down the ice in the first of our 2 heats and has a 22 hundredths of a second advantage. Well, that is the way that they end up after run 1. Oscar's Kiebermanis, Hansi Lochner, Mikkel Vogt. Look at that 4th place. Could he take a medal here for Switzerland? That'd be fantastic. Only his 2nd year of driving a bobsled. He was never a brakeman before either. Tie for 15th, Nico Walter, Justin Olsen, in part of a really close group of sleds. Lots and lots of gaps of 100th and a couple of hundreds. And then outside the top 20, Patrick Baumgartner, Drantzen Silic and Vukrad Jenovic will join the fans trackside at the most glamorous sliding location on the planet. And you can join Greg West, me, Martin Haven, and the rest of the IBSF TV crew when we come back on air with the 2nd and deciding heat of the 4-man race. 1100 Central European time, 1000 Greenwich Mean Time. That's 0500 Eastern. I feel your pain. Morning, Ken Childs. We'll see you later. Bye for now.